So we have another instance of a right-winger essentially making their violent tendencies known. And this time it's out in Virginia, where the new governor has essentially rolled back the mask mandates for schools. And that goes into effect Monday, but not before a woman named Amelia King, who happens to be a mother, she went to the school board for her children and let them know her thoughts about it. Watch this video.
No mask mandates. My children will not come to school on Monday with a mask on. All right, that's not happening. And I will bring every single gun loaded and ready to, I will call every.
That's 3 minutes. You've gone past your time. It's a policy. Thank you.
I'll see y'all on Monday.
Yeah, so before we move forward with the rest of the story, just on an initial take, how does this sit with you, Cenk?
Yeah, no, they've got to arrest her. If they don't arrest her, it sends a signal to everybody. Threatening to kill school board members is totally okay. And there's two different laws that she violated potentially in Virginia. One is oral threats of violence on school property or against school officials or personnel. That gets you a year in prison in Virginia. And then intimidating civilian population at large or influence the conduct or activities of a government, etc. That's assault that could get you up to 10 years prison in Virginia. And I think that they should threaten her with the maximum penalty. The reason is they need to send a message. I know that you're white and right wing, and you think that entitles you to intimidate, assault, and potentially shoot other people, but it doesn't. It doesn't. We have rule of law in this country. Yes, you have to follow the law like everyone else. And if you threaten to kill them, you're gonna go to prison. And if they don't arrest her, it's gonna be a giant problem.
Yes, and Bridget.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that she should be arrested. I think they need to send a signal that this kind of thing is not okay. And I also think it's just a natural consequence of the kind of ways that we've seen schools and school board meetings really become more and more extreme because they've been targeted by extremists on the right. We saw this with the critical race theory debates. I think this is a natural consequence where parents have been told that it's okay to show up at a school board meeting and threaten violence. I absolutely agree. This has no place in a school, and she should be arrested.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and we will see how this played out. So first of all, after this incident, the superintendent and the school board chair, well, they put out a letter. And so it in part read this: not only do comments such as these go against everything we wish to model for our students, they go against the very nature of how we as a community should interact with each other. Violence and threats are never acceptable or appropriate. This kind of behavior is not tolerated from our students, faculty, staff, nor will it be tolerated by parents or guests of our school division. And the letter goes on. PCPS, which is essentially the school district there, is addressing this issue and is in communication with local law enforcement at each PCPS school today and Monday. There will be an increased police presence with support from the Page County Sheriff's Office. Luray Police Chief Bo Cook is investigating the incident and is in communication with the Commonwealth's attorney, as well as state and federal officials. Now, this woman here, Miss King, Amelia King, what she did after being at the school board and essentially leveraging this threat here is she went ahead and she sent an email to the school. And in her email, she said this: I in no way meant to imply all guns loaded as in actual firearms, but rather all resources I can muster to make sure my children get to attend school without masks. My sincere apologies for my poor choice in words. I'm absolutely mortified. I would never do such a thing. I was only speaking figuratively as in notifying the press and creating a social media stir. I'm not a dangerous person and I'm not a threat. And today, the Luray Police Department, well, it put out a statement of its own on Facebook regarding Ms. King's statement itself. They said the Luray Police Department takes all threats seriously. However, they must meet Virginia state code and the parameters that are set forth and must be a violation of state code. The statement that was made absolutely caused public alarm. The parent that made the statement realized that and immediately contacted law enforcement to apologize because the statement was not intended the way it was perceived. We have been in contact with the parent who made the statement. She is cooperating with law enforcement. This incident is still under investigation and no arrests have been made at this time. Interestingly enough, as Cenk has observed, these threats against schools, as well as making these threats of violence, is definitely a crime here. And it's so interesting to me to see this police department say we're still investigating the matter, yet essentially saying that her statement wasn't necessarily taken as it should have been or as it was perceived and intended to be. I really don't necessarily know if anything's gonna happen here, but I definitely am not really one to believe Ms. King's remarks that she all of a sudden, was intending something else. I think she spoke exactly what she had intended to do, which is to bring guns to school. And I think that that is her initial thought, and that is very, very disconcerting. Do you guys have any thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, look, everybody knows this. If it was a Muslim man who said, I'm gonna bring all my guns and they're gonna be loaded and I'll see you on Monday, the police department wouldn't take days and days and days to figure out if he should be arrested. They would have arrested him before he left the building. And everyone knows that. You're telling me a Muslim man's gonna go, you know what, Allahu Akbar, I'm gonna bring my guns on Monday. And they're gonna be fully loaded. There's no way he makes it out of that room without getting arrested. Oh, but it's a white right-winger. So, oh yay, she's so pleasant. Oh, and when the cops talked to her and told her, hey, you know what? This is technically illegal, but obviously we're on your side. She then put out a statement saying, oh, okay, sure, I didn't mean it literally. Look, if you say, hey, I'm gonna fight you, that could mean 1,000 different things. It doesn't have to be a physical fight, it could be a rhetorical fight. I get it, right? But when you say, I'm going to bring weapons and they're going to be loaded, that's not really an analogy, that's quite literal. But hey, arrest her, let's have a trial, and she can make that argument. But if you don't arrest her, what are you saying? Is it okay? And by the way, are you really gonna apply that standard? What if a black man walks in the next day and says, oh, by the way, I don't like your policies, I'm bringing a gun tomorrow and it's gonna be fully loaded? What do you think is gonna happen?
I definitely think that he'll end up in handcuffs without question. And you're absolutely right. The fact is also that if she actually did send that email after the fact, what about the people who were listening on the line? What about the people who were scared or the people who all of a sudden got all incensed and they figured, okay, we're doing something come Monday. It's like a lot of the damage had already been done. So her little email in the aftermath that people couldn't see or that people didn't know about, it didn't remove the fear and the reason that they have laws against this behavior. Bridget?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also want to point out the fact that in her statement, she said that she was, just using figurative language, trying to cause a social media stir. We've seen time and time again that these, AstroTurf so-called concerned parents groups are riled up by right-wing forces that are very well-funded, and they're in fact incentivized to go out and cause some sort of social media stir so that they can make a big name for themselves and be the next right-wing extremist social media star. So I absolutely believe this woman knew what she was doing and doing it intentionally. I would not be surprised if there was some well-funded AstroTurf, faux concerned parents groups who's concerned about masks on kids in schools or anti-vax, something like that. But this is happening time and time again, especially in Virginia. So, none of this is surprising to me. It's not surprising to me that it's happening in Virginia. And I think that if these administration officials want to prevent this kind of thing, they absolutely need to make an example of her. Otherwise, what happens when the next person is like, I'm gonna have an even bigger show at a school board meeting. I'm gonna make an even bigger social media, viral moment at this school board meeting. I think they really, really have to make an example to show people this is not gonna be tolerated.
Yeah, and so let me address last two things here. One is, to Bridget's point, we covered a story before, and Daily Poster broke the story. Great job that they did, showing that the Koch brothers are funding all these organizations that are pushing the parents to do this. Why? They want everybody back in the schools so the parents can go back to work. And why do those Koch industries in particular care about that? They're in the oil business. People weren't driving enough during the lockdowns. And so it was costing them money. So they decided, who cares mass vaccines or not? Who cares how many people are gonna die? Let's incept into the right-wing mind that mass and vaccines are terrible so they could just go back to work, go back to the schools and keep driving so we make more money. And it worked on these fools. But I'm gonna say one last thing. They're allowed to be fools. It's a free country. So the distinction between freedom of speech is she can go there and say, you know what? I don't think you should teach critical race theory because I think blacks are inferior. I don't think slavery happened, or if it did happen, they deserved it. She can say all of those things, okay? But she can't say, and then I'm gonna bring a gun and I'm gonna take your life. She can't, there's a thing you can't say when you violate the law, when you endanger other human beings. You're allowed to be a lunatic. You're not allowed to be a dangerous and violent lunatic, potentially causing harm to others.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.